Most countries have laws. Most countries have governments. But very few countries have a document that quietly shapes the everyday lives of hundreds of millions of people, even centuries after it was written. In the United States, that document is the Constitution. But the strange thing is, the Constitution didn't stay frozen in time. It grew. It adapted. It bent under pressure and expanded when people demanded more freedom. And the way it changed wasn't through revolutions or coups, but through Amendment's 27 small updates that altered the trajectory of an entire nation. Some were written in moments of crisis. Some were born from decades of struggle. Some fixed old mistakes. Others recognized new rights the founders never imagined. Today, we're going to explore these amendments as a story not of laws, but of evolution. The evolution of rights, power, justice, and identity. Because to understand what America is today, you have to understand how it changed. One amendment at a time. If you ever want to understand, a country don't start with its politicians, or its wars, or even its history books. Start with its rules. The rules that shape how power flows, how rights are protected, and how people interact with their government. In the United States, those rules live in a document older than the light bulb, older than trains, older than almost everything that defines modern life. The Constitution is only a few pages long, but it has shaped an entire nation. And yet, strangely, the part most people talk about, the part people argue over, fight over, campaign over, isn't the document itself. It's the amendments. Because the amendments are the living, breathing updates. They're the patches the bug fixes the expansions. They're the way the founding fathers admitted in writing that they were not perfect and that the country would need to evolve. Today, we're going to break them down in the simplest way possible. Not as legal jargon, not as political talking points, but as one long, clear story about how a nation tried to balance liberty, power, fear, and progress across more than 2 centuries. Let's start at the beginning with what the amendments were meant to fix. The origin of amendments. A nation of skeptics. When the Constitution was first drafted, something strange happened. People loved the idea of a strong central government, and people hated the idea of a strong central government. They wanted stability but feared tyranny. They wanted order but remembered kings. They wanted a government, but only if it couldn't crush them. So a debate arose. Should there be a list of protected rights, or should the Constitution simply trust future leaders to behave? Many said no list was needed. Many said it was essential. Eventually, the compromise became the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments added almost immediately after the Constitution was ratified. These 10 amendments would become some of the most famous legal words in the world. Even if you don't know them by number, you know them by experience. Let's break them down. Amendment 1. The 5 freedoms. The first amendment is the one people quote most often and often misunderstand. It protects 5 freedoms, not 1. Freedom of speech, your right to say what you think. Freedom of religion, your right to believe or not believe. Freedom of the press, the right for information to flow freely. Freedom of assembly, the right to gather peacefully. Freedom to petition, the right to complain to your government without being punished. If the American system has a heartbeat, it's the First Amendment. It doesn't protect comfort, it protects expression. And the founders knew that once speech is controlled, everything else collapses. Amendment 2, the right to bear arms. Few amendments are more debated than the Second Amendment, but the origin is simple. After fighting a war against a powerful empire, the founders feared any centralized military force. In their minds, militias, everyday people armed to defend themselves, were a safeguard. Whatever the modern debates are, the historical meaning is clear. A country that had just fought for freedom wanted to make sure future tyranny couldn't rise unchecked. Amendment 3, the quartering of soldiers. This one feels strange today. No government is trying to put soldiers in your guest bedroom. But in the 1700s, British soldiers were quartered in private homes without permission. This amendment was a response to a lived trauma, a reminder that personal space is sacred. Sometimes the most outdated sounding rules were once the most urgently needed. Amendment 4, search and seizure. Imagine someone grabbing your phone and scrolling through your messages without asking. The founders didn't have smartphones, but they understood the idea privacy matters. The Fourth Amendment says the government cannot search you or your belongings without good reason and a warrant. It draws a line between public authority and personal life. Amendments 5 through 8, the rights of the accused. Now we enter a cluster of amendments that feel like one long idea. Even if you're accused of doing something wrong, you still have rights. The Fifth Amendment protects you from self-incrimination. You don't have to testify against yourself. It also protects against double jeopardy. No government should try to convict you twice for the same offense. The Sixth Amendment guarantees a fair and speedy trial. You get a lawyer. You get to face your accuser. You get due process. The Seventh Amendment preserves the right to trial by jury in civil cases. Not every country does this. It's a uniquely American belief that ordinary citizens should participate in justice. The Eighth Amendment bans cruel and unusual punishment. It also bans excessive fines or bail. Taken together, these amendments form a simple philosophy. A government powerful enough to accuse someone must be prevented from abusing that power. Amendments 9 and 10, rights and powers. The Ninth Amendment says that just because a right isn't listed doesn't mean you don't have it. The founders understood that no document can predict the future, so they left space intentionally for future rights. The 10th Amendment says that powers not given to the federal government belong to the states or the people. This draws a boundary reminding the government that it exists because of the people, not the other way around. With that, the Bill of Rights ends, but American history was only beginning. Let's fast forward to the era that reshaped everything the Civil War and its aftermath. Amendment 13, abolishing slavery. The 13th Amendment is one of the most profoundly transformative sentences ever added to the Constitution. It abolished slavery legally, formally, and permanently. It didn't erase centuries of injustice, but it removed the legal foundation that supported it. A country built on freedom could not remain half free and half enslaved. Amendment 14, equal protection. The 14th Amendment might be the single most important amendment in modern life. It established birthright citizenship. It required states to give equal protection under the law, and it protected basic rights from being violated by state governments. Almost every major civil rights case in U.S. history traces back to this amendment. It redefined what it meant to be an American. Amendment 15, voting rights, regardless of race. The 15th Amendment says that the right to vote cannot be denied because of race. In practice, this was resisted, evaded, and undermined for decades. But legally, it established a principle that every citizen should have a voice. The Civil War Amendments 13, 14, 15 reshaped the Constitution around the idea of equality. The early 1900s expanding democracy. The next set of amendments reflected a changing society. The 16th Amendment legalized income tax. Governments needed revenue in a growing industrial age. The 17th Amendment allowed people to directly elect their senators instead of letting state legislatures choose them. It shifted power toward ordinary voters. The 18th Amendment banned alcohol prohibition. It failed spectacularly, leading to crime, corruption, and black markets. The 21st Amendment repealed it. A rare time when the Constitution said, "We tried this. It didn't work. Let's undo it." The 19th Amendment extended voting rights to women. The Constitution had finally caught up with a basic truth. Half the population should not be excluded from democracy. Modern voting rights 23, 24, 26, these amendments reflect a country trying to make voting more fair. The 23rd Amendment gave Washington, D.C. residents the right to vote for president. Millions of citizens finally gained representation. The 24th Amendment banned poll taxes fees designed to keep poor people and minorities from voting. The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18. If you could be drafted to fight in a war, you should be able to vote. Each of these amendments expanded the idea of who counts as part of the people. Amendment 27, the strangest timing. The 27th Amendment is unusual. It says Congress cannot immediately raise its own salary. Any pay raise only takes effect after the next election. What makes it fascinating is this. It was proposed in 1789 and finally ratified in 1992. More than 200 years later. Proof that amendments move slowly but intentionally. The true purpose of amendments. When you zoom out and look at all 27 amendments, a pattern appears. The early ones protect liberty. The Civil War ones redefine equality. The modern ones expand democracy. The amendments don't tell a story of perfection. They tell a story of correction. A story of a country trying to fix itself one sentence at a time. And that's the real insight. A constitution is only powerful if it can grow. A nation is only strong if it can evolve. And freedom is only meaningful if future generations can shape it. The amendments are not just legal text. They are snapshots of what America struggled with in each era. Fear, power, justice, rights, fairness, war, change. They show that the fight for liberty is never finished. It is edited, updated, revised, improved, amended, and the story isn't over. If history teaches anything, it's that future amendments will come addressing challenges we cannot yet imagine. Because a country isn't defined by the rules it starts with. It's defined by how bravely it chooses to rewrite them. If there's one lesson hidden inside the amendments, it's that freedom is not a static idea. It grows, it stretches, it responds to the needs and failures of each generation. The amendments show a nation wrestling with itself, correcting injustices, expanding rights, redefining who belongs, and learning slowly that no society is perfect without the courage to update its own foundations. From free speech to equal protection, from voting rights to personal privacy, from ending slavery to giving citizens a voice. The amendments are less a list of rules and more a map of America's ongoing attempt to live up to its ideals. And that journey isn't finished. History suggests that new amendments will come shaped by future challenges, future debates, and future generations, determined to make the Constitution not just a relic of the past, but a living promise for the future. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop understanding the rules that shape the world around you.